Good evening, everyone. I am Lisha Dure, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to One-on-One, where we bring to you some of the best minds in Trinidad and Tobago. Over the last 2 months, there have been several public consultations throughout the country on the Home Invasion, Self-Defense, and Defense of Property Bill 2025, which is commonly referred to as Stand Your Ground legislation. Broadly speaking, this bill, one, defines home invasion as a criminal offense, and two, gives people the right to use force, including deadly force, without a duty to retreat in their own homes or dwellings. Several people have been asking us over the weeks to discuss stand your ground legislation on this program. And it is definitely one of the key items on today's agenda. We've finally gotten the opportunity to have a program on stand your ground, so we are doing so today. In case anyone wants to read the bill, it is available on the website of the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Legal Affairs. It is on that website. But I know that many of us will find the legal jargon a bit hard to follow, and that is why we decided to ask Senator the Honorable Brian Baig to join us tonight to break down the bill in simple terms and answer any questions that you may have. What we also want to do in this program is take a look at some of the opposition's criticisms of these consultations. Just a few days ago, at a media briefing following the PNM's General Council meeting at Balisay House, opposition MP Kareem Marcel would have claimed that the government has trivialized and politicized a very serious issue. PNM Senator Dr. Amy Brown also claimed that the consultations were not very national in nature. He further went on to allege that there was mislabeling, dog whistling, and all sorts of things were being done to dismiss opposing views. Now, as someone who was physically present at several of these consultations, I am going to openly state that these criticisms are absolute and complete nonsense with no basis in fact. But of course, coming from the PNM, I can't say I'm surprised. However, what we want to do on this program is hear from some of you, especially those of you who attended these consultations. So please join us in the open mic segment and tell us about your experience. What I will say though is, having attended several of the consultations, as I said, I was physically present. I found them to be very, very informative and educational. And what I think deeply moved me the most, and is something that I would have posted on my Facebook page, is the victims of the violent crime who somehow they found the inner strength to stand before a crowd of strangers and share their painful experiences. And that is what moved me the most. I mean, some of these people, they were brought to tears as they were speaking. So although they may have experienced this violence so many years ago, that emotional trauma remains. And that is something I think it touched me deeply. And I'm sure almost everyone else who was there and listening to these people were moved by these experiences. This is a very, very, very serious thing that is happening in our country. I also want to commend the Honorable Prime Minister, because these consultations are yet another powerful example of the people-centered leadership of Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar. And as I've said it in many forums, I mean, they demonstrate her unwavering commitment to inclusive governance, freedom of speech, and democratic values. She is a leader who listens to the people. And this to me is certainly refreshing, because it's something that we have not experienced in Trinidad and Tobago for a very, very long time. In fact, I would go as far as saying that these consultations to this level are unprecedented in this country. Now, before we proceed, I must say on behalf of the team here, congratulations to Attorney Brian Baig on his appointment as senator. Brian, I'm saying Brian. I mean, you're a friend, so I think we're on a first name basis. We are so happy for you. Brian has a wealth of legal knowledge. He is very committed to justice, and he is extremely dedicated to serving people of Trinidad and Tobago. He's someone who will, in my mind, and I'm sure many of us will agree, will no doubt bring great value to the Senate. So, Brian, congratulations on behalf of all of us here on your appointment as Senator. Joining me, as always, is my regular co-host, agripreneur, and director of the Agricultural Society of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Donny Rogers. So, ladies and gentlemen, I definitely invite all of you all to stay tuned. We have a very interesting and engaging conversation. As usual, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all our viewers who are joining us on Zoom. We're seeing the regulars come in and social media, as well as members of the media who will be tuning in. We are absolutely thrilled to have you with us tonight. Again, something I always say, we aim to make the session as interactive as possible. So we encourage you to actively participate. As I would have said earlier, those of you all who would have attended these consultations, I would love to hear what your experience has been. Mine has been very positive. So raise your hand if you want to make a contribution. Feel free to share your comments and questions on the chat. And without further ado, I would like to pass you now over to Donny, who will give his opening remarks and kick off the discussion.
Pleasant evening, Leisha. Pleasant evening to all listening audience, and a special hello and good night to our valued guest, the Honorable Senator Brian Baig. Now, Leisha, you would know anytime you meet him and you say Senator, he'll walk up to you and say, "Hey, still Brian," and that is how this guy is humble. But it's a title and a position, in our opinion, that is justly deserving to you, Senator. So thank you for being on board tonight, and we look forward to having a chat with you. Now, this topic that we are on today, in my opinion, it is a continuation of the impactful work that this government is being put out here by our honorable prime minister. And this is the nice thing about this government. Every single thing that they are doing, it's impactful, and this is what the country needs right now. They are creating the impact. They are actually fulfilling campaign promises, unlike, what we had before. And this is what we need. Now, Lisha, I heard you speak about, the PNM would have had concerns and things to say about it and stuff like that. This bill is fashioned behind the Florida model, right? And Florida and one other state were the first to enact stand your ground legislation. And up till now, only 34 of all the states have enacted that. So you will find people and you will find sectors who would just be, opposed to things. But at the end of the day, it is legislation like these which are needed to create that sort of change. How many home invasions, how many rapes and murders and robberies? Robberies is the least of the worries when they get a home invasion. This must stop. And we need groundbreaking legislation and protective mechanisms to support law abiding citizens. So I, for one, will welcome this. I have been to a couple consultations and I have heard the stories of citizens who fell victim to home invasions. And the stories are just gut wrenching in some cases. And it goes not just to regular homeowners, but it goes to farm holdings. It goes to farmers as well. So, and that we will get into that, later on as we discuss. But Brian, or Senator, sorry, we are very happy to have you here, and we look forward to this discussion. So over to you.
Well, well, good night to Lisha and to yourself, also Donnie, and good night to those of you who are listening. Let me say, first of all, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here on your program. And I must, as always, I must give recognition to where recognition is due. And I must recognize, and I will always thank the Honorable Prime Minister Kamala Prasad Visesa for appointing me to the Senate. I appreciate that she has seen value in me, and I will always thank her, and my loyalty will always be to the Honorable Prime Minister Kamala Prasad Visesa. It is very nice that you all are discussing this matter. As you know, we are discussing the the Home Invasion, Self-Defense, and Defense of Property Bill 2025. It is a very interesting piece of legislation that has been brought. Having worked at the AG's office before and having seen legislative drafting, I have to say that this is one of the best legislative drafting I've ever seen. So I must also commend the Chief Parliamentary Counsel and his team, as well as that of the Attorney General, Mr. John Jeremy, and Senior Counsel. And you see, this legislation is important because this legislation allows now the public, the people, to no longer retreat. Because before, when a person comes into your home, the issue was to retreat, to hide in fear of these persons coming into your home. We must understand that the reason why is because at present, there is no real dedicated law in dealing with home invasions. And this is not me speaking as well. There is a law reform Commission of Trinidad and Tobago 2025 report that talks about it as well, where in which they have said from the report that there are figures that shows from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service from the year 2023 and 2024, home invasions is not included as a special crime, if you understand what I'm saying. This legislation now comes and way in which it makes it where home invasions is now a criminal act. All right? And we must look at where we look at the statistics. Because the one thing that the PNM is always beaten with is statistics. Robberies in 2023, it was 2,613. 2024 is 2,399. It was increased. Burglaries and breakings. It is 1,677 2023. In 2024, it went to 1,613. Larcenies in a dwelling house, 120 in 2023. 2024 was 112. Murders, 2023, 577. Then 2024, 625. So let's stop there. I think we have to understand that there is a doctrine of where your home is your castle. So what do I mean by that? Your home is your domain. Your home is where you live. And if your home is your castle, you would expect that no one enters your castle. So again, now that comes from what we call the common law, or what we call the English common law of the 17th century. It came from a case called the Simine's case, right, in which it is said, the house of everyone is his castle. Although the life of a man is a thing precious, favored in law, if thieves come to a man's house to rob him or murder, the owner of his servants kill or any thieves in defense of himself or his house is not a felony. So that came from that. So now let's jump now to the century we are in. You are in your home. A man comes into your home. And what are you expected to do? Again, is no existing law. So you were more expected to retreat. With this legislation, it now comes in where you can now defend yourself in your home. Defend yourself of your property. Now I know I've heard these how would I say it? These criticisms in the wind. And I say in the wind. But these persons, the only people who is against this bill is the PNM. But the PNM has no moral authority to speak on crime. None. They have no moral authority because they did not have any will to fight crime. This was a promise made by our government led by Kamla Prasad Bisasa, way in which you heard of many persons who are affected of home invasions. I am one myself. So I know what it is like to be a victim of a home invasion.
Brian,
Persons, yes.
if I want to interject, this is a piece of statistics that I think the public needs to be aware of. And I think it was Dr. Munilal who brought it to our attention that last year there were over 500 reported cases of home invasion.
Well, I was now coming to that,
Okay.
right? That there are 500 plus reports. But we've had where these reports of home invasions led to not only just a person coming into your home, it led to persons being attacked and raped. It led to persons being murdered. And how I can talk about that? If we could remember just last year, coming down to later of last year, a pensioner in Couva was killed when a man came into her home, taking out dinner for her husband, my uncle. And men came into that home, tied up my uncle in a chair. A man was a heart patient. Took his wife, who he has had for how many years, go into a room, and they come back out after. But the legislation is here to help with that, to deal with those things. Because you must understand that all the cries that were heard, it did not go on deaf ears of the United National Congress led by Kamla Prasad Bisasa, because she indicated that we would bring legislation. Legislation has been brought. There is a draft bill. And what has happened now? We have led to consultations. I have been to some of them. I've been to La Hoqueta Talparo. I have been to Couva. I have been to Arima, Malaba Mauseka. I was part of a consultation with the trade union movement. So for people to say that these consultations are not national, well, I would say that they are living under, I wouldn't even say under a rock. Because people under a rock know that we had consultations. They're but still living to the bottom of the sea. I let them stay there. And then they make some comments I've heard. That shows again, that's why the PNM was voted out. That is why the PNM is no longer there in government. Because of the callous way they think, the callous way that they treat people, victims. This bill is to help those who are victims, to know that there is law coming and law is here. And this law is so good. It is so good, and I support this 100%. And I call on the people of this country to support it. Because under it, there are clauses that deals with the issue of self-defense. This bill strengthens the issue and the point of self-defense, way in which you are able to now defend not only yourself, but defense of property. Because I heard someone say, but if a man come in your property, you come and take a mango. But first of all, what are you doing in the first place? He can ask. He can say, hey, boss, I can get a mango, please. What reason he has to come into your property? Because a mango on your land is a part of your property. And guess what? If he picking the mango, and he see a window open, you know what happens there? He says, hey, look, I see a window open, you know. Well, let me see what else I can get. And what happens? He comes into your home. He comes inside your house. And then he holds not only you down, he holds your wife or your husband or your children. And what happens there? But you see, the law is so good that there are also penalties put in place. That is so good, because you know why these penalties are here? Because we as a government has said enough is enough. Enough is enough. And I'll tell you some of the penalties, if you'd allow me. Right? Under clause 6, all right? Clause 6(2) talks about where if a person who commits an offense under subsection 1 is liable on conviction of indictment. So it's already an indictable offense, right? For a fine of $500,000 and imprisonment of 20 years. But it doesn't just stop there. If a person carries a home invasion, and they did it in the presence of a child, a senior citizen, differently abled person, or otherwise vulnerable person, that person commits an act as well. And they are liable on conviction of indictment to hear the fine of $750,000 and imprisonment of 25 years. So here was increase again. But it doesn't stop there. That if a person commits the offense where causes the death of another person, to be charged with the offense of murder. So my aunt was murdered. That man is liable on conviction of death. So you see me being in that there? So it shows as well that we are part of this. And we are bringing this to show enough is enough and the severity of the penalty. But it also strengthens, like I said, self-defense. Clause 7 does that. Talks about where there's no longer that issue to retreat. So now where you have the right, where you stand your ground of a home invader, and a person threatens to use force against you, you are then have to use back force. But that force can also be looked at on reasonable grounds. And the legislation is so simply put that anyone could, and I invite persons, I know our time is limited, but I want to invite persons to look at this bill and look at it in its entirety. Because this bill, Lisha and Donnie, it is meant to ensure that the normal man in society can understand. Well, I'm an English trained lawyer, so we would say it's made for the man in the Clapham bus to understand. So I would say it is made so the man in the red band maxi could understand it and know that this is proper and good law. Because the one thing the UNC provides and pushes is good law. And this is good law. And anyone who is against this type of legislation is against taking care of the society, it's against taking care of their citizens, and it's against taking care and thinking and loving in your heart for those who would have been affected. And if they're still against it, then I say they have no heart and they have no soul. That is what I would say about this. Because I just to read one more so people would understand. Because someone may ask, well, what is a home invasion? And the legend puts it out very nice, you know. So let me just read, let me read it to you. So that so your audience can understand. Right? And what is a home invasion? Right? That a home invasion, right, basically means where a person who unlawfully enters your home or enters your property. You understand? And what is property? Property means real or personal property, whether tangible, where you can touch, or intangible, movable or immovable, including money, because money is property, yeah? Or any other rights or interests. So I hope in some way or the other, I've been able to bring some clarity. All right. And who is a home invader? Means a person who normally enters or remains at a dwelling house in which he is not an occupant with the intention to carry out a home invasion. So again, I hope I've been able to assist in any way so far with this, with how good this legislation is, right? And I don't know if you have anything else you want to say at this time.
Donnie, I'll pass it over to you. I think Donnie might be frozen. Brian, I do want to ask you though, like you were present at some of the consultations. I know you would have attended in the capacity of an attorney where you would have gone into different parts of the bill.
Yeah.
What was the response that you experienced from these consultations?
At these consultations, the majority of persons were in support of this legislation. As always, we got some suggestions which we have taken note of, right? Some of these things, as you know, we've heard in camera. So what has been put as suggestions, we have submitted forward.
So then getting back to some of the criticisms that we have gotten from the opposition, right? Saying that the government's approach was trivial and politicized. The government was making this a political issue when it should not have been. Claiming that it's not national, the consultations were not national in nature.
Well, again,
Things like
let me come to the last point that you
mislabeling,
raised there.
dog whistling. I mean, what are
There
you?
was no dog whistling. There was no way, and I think they know what they're coming with. But I will say this: race, a criminal doesn't know what race, you know. A criminal don't watch what you look like when they're coming into your house, you know. Right? But that is the PNM style. The PNM, when they have nothing to say, they'll come with that. Because they know for themselves that they failed this nation with crime. They failed this nation in protecting the people of Trinidad and Tobago. They have failed. So when I hear them talk, they come with the normal rhetoric. And I tell the nation, just as we dismissed them in April the 28th of 2025, dismiss them with those comments as well. Because it's ridiculous. At the end of the day, it is ridiculous. Because why would a man ever, what does a man ever reason to come into your home? Why did a man come into my home? Because again, the PNM does not care about citizens. Could you imagine my family, my aunt having to hear what my aunt, a man coming to her home and she was murdered? What about the elderly couple from Siparia? What about the elderly couple from Diego Martin? Diego Martin, look where. It's not national.
Well, Brian, I don't know what they mean by not national because I mean, consultations took place throughout Trinidad and Tobago in every constituency,
Yes, the theaters in
every
the
creed, every race. So what
yes,
exactly do you mean by not national? What
the,
does
Tob-
not national
the
mean?
Tobago party said they are doing theirs as well,
No, they did. They
right?
did. That was reported on national media, the
Right.
newspapers. They were doing consultations in Tobago, not in a fashion that was done in Trinidad, but they were being done. So again, I have to ask the question, what do they mean by not national? If it's in every constituency, you go to the consultations, they open to the public, you see in every creed and race.
Well,
So
I'm going to say it again.
not
It was
national.
held in Diego Martin. It was held in Port of Spain, Lavantil. It was held in St. Joseph, Sao, St. Augustine, Arima, Mausica, Malaba, Mausica, in Aruca. It was held in Lopino. It was held in Sangre Grande. It was held in La Hoqueta Talparo. It was held in Cuva North, Cuva South. It was held in Tabaquit. It was held in Naparima. It was held in Urupuch East and in Urupuch West. Held in Faizabad. Held in, where else? It was held in
Show East, Show
Chaguanas
West.
East and Chaguanas West, right? San Fernando West, San Fernando East. Do I need to do the tour of the nation still?
You
It is
see,
done everywhere. But you see again, it was done in Siparia, in the Prime Minister's constituency. And I want to tell the PNM, when you want to come with facts, come with facts. Don't come and talk nonsense. Because they came with nothing, they have no facts. Because the PNM, I'll say it again, did not care about the people, did not care to secure our nation. That is why they were voted out. That is why the UNC is in government, and that is why they are not in government.
Donnie, I see you're back with us, so I'll pass the mic over to you. We're not hearing you.
Alicia, are you hearing me?
Yes, hearing you now. Trini, I know your hand is
Right,
up. We'll come to you in a little while. Donnie, go ahead. All right. So again, Donnie,
Yeah,
yes.
you see, when you look at this narrative that the PNM is coming with, sorry?
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. When you look at this narrative, what stops the PNM from having a consultation in their area? When the UNC was in opposition, every single year we had budget consultations in every constituency. So, what stops the PNM from having their own consultations to field from their voter base or from their areas information on the ground? What stops them? How
But
much
Donnie, I
consultations
can
they
answer. I can answer that, you know, Donnie. The PNM cannot
have?
hold no consultation
Yes, I do.
on anything to fight crime because they never fought crime. Because when the first thing they're going to do is tell people, well, what they're going to tell people how they fight crime. Since we have been in office, for the 3 months
Yeah.
we've been in office, murders are down, serious crimes are down.
It was reported, just to come in here, Brian, it was reported that murders were down by 34%. And I could certainly say again, being on the ground, living in Trinidad, I mean, the amount of action that we are seeing from this current administration when it comes to the fight against crime is something unprecedented. I have not seen that before, right? And I want to say kudos to the defense minister who is now being threatened, they're threatening his life. Also to the Minister of Homeland Security, the Attorney General, the Justice Minister, the entire and all our new
And
Commissioner of Police, the
but
entire
in the sense of that,
national
Lisha,
security forces.
Lisha,
Go ahead.
let me
Go
just
ahead.
come in there. Not
Go ahead.
only have, but we have also had in our consultations, we have had various lawyers as well in these consultations. We had Senator, who is also minister in the office of the Prime Minister, Darrell Alaha, was part of, was in it. We have MP and Minister Saddam Hussein in it as well. We've had many lawyers that are part of this as well. So we had lawyers there to help guide. Former Attorney General Anand Ramlogan was part of this as well. So we are there to assist and guide people as to why this law is good, why this law is important. And we answered questions. Hence why it was a consultation.
No, Brian, you're absolutely correct. I mean, I am speaking from personal experience being there. So, I mean, I can't talk. I am making this up. Anybody who wanted to attend the consultations, they were welcome. Whatever side of the political divide you were on, that was totally not part of the picture. Nobody was prevented from entering. Nobody was prevented from speaking. The consultations that I attended, there were people who came up and they expressed concerns about the law. Some had reservations. Some openly said they weren't in favor. So to say that, all kinds of things were being done to dismiss opposing views, I'm saying again, that is complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. There's no basis, in fact, for that criticism. Trini, go ahead. Go ahead and go
Good
ahead.
evening, ladies and gentlemen. Interesting discussion. I want to bring something to the table here. Every single creature on this planet builds a nest, a home, someplace they can call home, and they protect it with their lives. They stand their ground and protect it. Bees do it, birds do it, any animal on the planet, any creature on the planet. That's a fact. And that's natural instinct. That is what you are supposed to do. Protect your home and your offspring. Every single creature on this planet does that. And to deny humans the right to do that is wrong. Morally, spiritually, anything wrong. When you build your house and your fence and your burglar proofing and your doors and so on, that is your safe space on planet Earth. That is where you can feel safe and you can feel comfortable. For a government to deny you that right and for a criminal to deny you that right, it is totally wrong in any way you can look at it. And you have every right to defend yourself in that place, that safe space you created to call your home. That's your sanctity. So it is morally wrong for any criminal to come in, break down your door, climb over your fence, and invade your sanctity. And you have every single right to defend that. And that is what this law allows you to do. In the past, the previous laws didn't allow you to do that. It forced you to retreat. Where do you retreat and go if that is your safe space? Where? Where do you go? You have no place to go. Run out of your safe space? That is supposed to be your safe space. So it is totally ridiculous for the PNM or anyone to deny you the ability to protect yourself, your family, and your belongings in your safe space because you created that safe space. And that is what whoever created us or whatever created us made us to be. That is what that's our right as creatures on this planet. That is what we will do if aliens decide to invade planet Earth. Humans are going to stand up and stand their ground. So it is totally illogical for the PNM or anyone to deny us that right.
Okay,
Apart from
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. But
apart from that,
kind
coming back to the consultations, nobody can deny it is public knowledge. Has been widely publicized that there were consultations and everybody was welcome to come and participate in the consultations. And the consultations have been, like you just said, very vibrant and people expressing their views from both sides. The other thing that I wanted to deal with about the stand your ground law, now that based on what I just mentioned, if you're going to stand your ground, you're not going to shoot people or kill people who outside your yard. If you have a fenced area and they jump your fence, they have invaded your privacy. Nobody is going to shoot somebody. I think Mr. Saddam Hussein answered this question. If you see a man picking your zabuka, you will hail him out, "Hey partner, what you doing over there?" And if he say, "Boss, sorry, at defense zabuka," you're not going to shoot him. You're not going to put it on him because you see him doing that. But if he break down your door and he come into your house and you sleeping and you wake up and you see a man inside your house, obviously you have every right. What are you doing inside your house now? That is something totally different. And if you have a weapon and he is attacking you or he is attacking somebody, you have every right to use whatever means necessary to stop him. And that's what the law is about. Nobody is going to be indiscriminate and go shooting people anywhere they see them. If you don't have a fence, you can't be shooting a man in the yard. And based on what is happening, what we see happening with our home invasion, it's not one person coming, it's 8 people coming to your house. If you see 8 strangers jumping over your fence and breaking down your doors, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? Hide in the house?
Okay, Trini, thank you for the contribution. Senator, would you like to respond to anything Trini may have said?
Well, he's right because a man is expected to protect his home. You see, before, right, when a person enters your home and you have a family, outside of looking to defend yourself, you want to protect your family. Because before, there was no way to there's no law that's to help to defend you, to defend yourself. So sometimes you might find yourself barricading yourself in a room, you don't want nobody to come in there while a man is in your house. I mean, a man came in my bedroom My bedroom. Your bedroom is supposed to be your most sanctity area or sanctuary, if I may use that word. And your bedroom is the most private place for you, with you and your loved one. All right. So when in my mind was about making sure my loved one was taken care of, was more safer than anything else. Right? While the man took what the monies that I had, right? One must also understand the psyche it has on a person, you know. To this day, I still wake up at 3 a.m. every morning because I think that man is in my bedroom. Any little sound that I hear, I wake up.
But
Any
Brian,
little anything.
Brian, I know some people who have burglar proof on their fence. They have the razor wire on their fence. Then they have burglar proof on their doors. And they have big, strong, solid doors. And they have a corridor to their bedroom area. This is how the man designed his house.
My friend,
And
I'll
it's
go even
burglar
further.
proof there too.
My friend, I'll go even further. What this has caused me, I now have 24/7 security, right? 24/7 security at my home now. And that's an extra expense. I had to reinforce my doors. That's another expense. I deprived my mother's home of her dogs, which is actually my dogs, and I brought them here to live with me. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, one of the things that came up at one of the consultations was having adequate trauma counseling and therapy for survivors of violent crime. Because what Brian is saying there, I mean, many people came forward and they expressed those same sentiments, and it was very, very breaking that even decades after you've experienced this violence, and you
But
think, okay, they would
there
be
is a
over
there
it.
is a there is in fact a victim support unit
Hmm.
that helps persons, right?
But
Victims of crime.
would you say that unit really functioned effectively and people were able to get the sort of care that they needed to get?
Well, yes. However, with legislation that protects you, makes it even better. That's why this legislation is needed.
Mhm. Okay, doing a quick time check, guys. It's 8:50. Donnie, I don't know if you are able to speak now. I think Donnie is frozen again. Tonight is not a good IT night for Donnie. All right, Brian, I want to just quickly go across to some of the comments and questions that I am seeing. Now, folks, we have a few minutes left. So if you have any questions, any comments,
We have to blame
please,
Flo on there.
uh, Donnie, I think the technology not working for you tonight because you keep sticking. Sorry about that.
Alicia, I want to come in with something else
All
also.
right, all right. Go ahead, Trini. Go ahead.
Um, no, Brian, the penalties. Now, what I was saying earlier about stand your ground.
Uh-huh.
When you have 4 and 5 and up to 8 people coming into your home, if there's something like a murder or a rape because of the home invasion, when these criminals are caught, everybody is an accessory to the murder or the rape. So everyone should be held responsible. Now I'll tell you why I want that coming
Mm-hmm.
coming into it. Because if everyone is held responsible, then when the criminal is trying to wrongs up a side to go and do a crime, the driver who have to carry them there, he's going to think twice because he's going to be charged for murder. Also, he
Yeah.
is he is part of the act. And if he knows he's going to be charged for murder and will probably get the death penalty too, it will be a deterrent. He will say, here what, partner, all you're going with gun, I not going. and it will the purpose of this law and this act is to deter criminals from coming to commit crime. If they know somebody have a gun in the house, they're not going to come in there. If you have a firecracker and you set it off, they're going to scatter. They're going to run.
Mhm.
They're not going to continue with the crime. And it's the same thing. If you have a gun and they know that most people have a gun, Trini have a gun, they're not going to come in there. And that's the idea of this law, and the population needs to understand that. And the
Well,
more people
well,
have
well,
guns,
well Trini, let me stop you one time. All right. Yes, once this law is enacted, yes, it will be seen as a deterrent, especially with the penalties that are there, right? Especially of the issue of murder. But issue where a person not only as the father or the mother, but if children are affected, you have a elderly person in the home is affected. So like I said, the law is very clear. It is very simple. Put forward, and it is to show that this is a legislation that is there to protect the persons with their home, because it allows them to now defend their homes. Because before, it allowed it had where persons had to retreat. Now it allows you not to retreat. It allows you to defend your home and stand your ground. So you understand where I'm coming from?
yeah, I got you with that.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Another concern I had about the law, I have Rottweilers. And if somebody come into my yard, one of my dogs is going to eat people.
Mm-hmm.
And if he eats people, I don't want the police coming to kill my dog afterwards,
Well, no.
because he is going to stand his ground.
Well, your dog is doing their duty in that a person came into your yard and your home. Your dogs are meant to do one thing, and one thing is to protect your home. It's called a guard dog. A guard dog protects not only you, but protects your home. So the dog is doing his duty, his or her duty. All right. And a dog is part of your property as well, because you own your dog.
No, but in the past, I remember a year or two ago, someone jumped somebody's fence to steal zabukas, and they mauled somebody.
Right. You heard
And
the key phrase you just said there? A person jumped the wall to steal. I stop there.
yes, but they killed the dog. Police
Right.
came and they shot the dog because the man died eventually.
Right. So the police would have come in. That's a whole different scenario, my friend. All right. It's a whole different scenario where in which the police would have come, right? And maybe the dogs maybe were a little aggressive towards the police as well. But that's a separate and apart issue, right? It's not similar. It will not be similar with this. Okay. But I take note of your point.
Well, I'm
All
just
right.
advocating for my dog in case it kills somebody.
I'm still waiting for one.
All right. I see Curtis has his hand up. Curtis, you want to unmute and go ahead?
Pleasant good night to one and all. Are you all hearing me?
Yes.
Loud
we-
and clear.
Pleasant good night to the Honorable Senator, Mr. Brian Baig,
Good night, Curtis.
and to all of the wonderful moderators that is on this wonderful Zoom meeting here tonight. Very insightful and, wonderful discourse. And to all of your listeners and all of the viewers, I would like to say pleasant good night. Ladies and gentlemen, I, Curtis Anthony O'Brady, and my entire family do support this piece of legislation that is stand your ground legislation. The reason for that is from ever since when you have your home is your castle, and you should be given the authority to defend life, limb, and property. Nowadays, we live in not only in hell, but we have focused our entire intelligence and intellectual capacity of living in a jail. Now, I am trying to understand why it is some people might have some difference in questioning this piece of wonderful legislation that is now going to give you the rights as not only a homeowner, but a person who has the love, respect, and dignity for your family, which is life, limb, and property. Now, think about it. You're in a situation where 2 men, 3 men jump in your home, kick down your door, come in to your house, rape your wife and your kids. You have your gun, but you can't do nothing because the perpetrator have more rights than you as the person who owns the home.
You know, Curtis, let me cut you across there. You know what you just said there?
Yeah.
You're so right. Let me tell you something. And this is nothing towards the TTPS, but when the police came to my home, I was questioned. I felt as though I was the criminal.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's until when they asked me, so what you just do?
Yeah.
So well, I'm an attorney at law.
Yeah.
Well, the pocket diary come out,
Yeah. Yeah.
pen come
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
questions that come in a different way.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I say, but so if I didn't say I was a lawyer, well, they would have
Yeah.
still treat me the way I was, the way
No,
you,
yeah. Yeah, she treat differently.
you understand? So yeah, and it's again,
But you can't do
and,
nothing.
I'm sorry to cut you across, Curtis, because
We
you're making a good point.
have more
Is that is why this
rights.
legislation under clause 7 and clause 8, it brings about again the issue of self-defense. It
Correct.
strengthens you in self-defense because
Correct.
it's not allowing you to retreat. It's
Exactly.
allowing you to
To stand
know
your ground.
to stand your ground and not only defend yourself, but defense of your family, your loved ones, and persons in your home.
Correct.
You
Correct.
understand me? And
Correct.
even and this is the thing,
Mm-hmm.
is that it again shows that why it is people must not feel afraid to be in your homes.
Exactly. That you ain't
A,
supposed to be afraid.
a pensioner should be allowed to go to her kitchen and take out dinner for her husband without having to worry, is there a man coming through my door?
Yes.
You understand? A
Mhm.
husband should be able to be in his bedroom with his wife and
Yes. Yes.
sleep comfortably.
Yes.
But I will say I raise this concern. We have independence, and there's so much debate about the Independence Day parade being cancelled. How independent are we as a nation when the average person is afraid to be in their own house?
You see, because of the mindset they created, a mindset of people who is influxed by depending so much on some old arcade laws
Well, I'm not going to get
that
into
not
that
even,
whole
yeah, that not even, no,
argument.
I don't even want to go there.
No, but I
But
mean, you want all this pageantry and
they trap the
fun.
people, so much and deceive them and have them in this dependency so much that they're not even giving themselves the authoritative pursuit to think.
What I will say, my friends, now the nice thing if you're having this is also part of a public consultation for
Correct.
the members of the public here. And
Correct.
what I will say is that on April the 28th, 2025,
Yes.
this nation said with one loud voice,
Yes.
free at last. We
Free
are
at
free at
last.
last, the PNM.
Correct. Correct.
Just as we said when we got independence, we were free to make our own laws, free to be as we are. That is why this government is free to bring legislation like this, which is excellent. It is
Hurrah.
perfect.
Hurrah, hurrah,
And it is
hurrah for that.
excellent.
Hurrah for that. And
Okay,
I will
guys.
and before I go, I would like to also thank the Honorable Prime Minister, Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bissessa, for bringing forth these humane policies and legislations in order to bring change, positive change, to all of the people of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes. You see, the United National Congress, led by Kamala Prasad Bissessa, is a people-centered party. And when we bring legislation, we make it people-centered. And that's what this legislation is. It's people-centered.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
Right.
Now,
All
Brian,
right,
Sen-
ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
thank you, Curtis, as always, for your contribution. Brian, there are a number of comments and questions on the chat. Donnie, I know, Donnie, you had some input you wanted to
yeah.
give to us, but do you think you're able to now? The tech is
Sure, sure.
okay?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and tell into
One
the
thing I
question.
realized from this legislation is that with farmers previously, in order to own a firearm and stuff like that, you had to look at your land holdings and things like that, right? And a lot of times you don't have the land tenure in which you could access, a firearm application.
Mhm.
I'm guessing, and I could go under your guidance with this one, is that now that farmer, being a homeowner, would be able to protect himself from that perspective as a
Well,
homeowner
once a,
who may
a
not have the
farmer,
clear land tenure.
well,
Hmm.
once a farmer operates on land that he has rights to, then he
Hmm.
can protect his home, protect his land. All right. If he has property in the form of like tractors,
Yeah,
whatever it is he may have, and a person coming to take his tractor, where you go down and say, "My partner, take my tractor now." No, yes, that's a part of property. Hence why property is defined as tangible,
correct.
intangible,
Yeah,
movable, or
yeah,
immovable.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so it
But
plugs that
we
gap.
but we
That
must also understand
Yeah.
that we as farmers must also know that this is not a this is not a law to say, well, boy, I could I could beat man now. No, a person must still come on your property.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
But
Hmm.
we have things where in our manifesto, which is now part of government policy, we are putting things in place to
Hmm.
protect our farmers. We are putting things in place to ensure the PD larceny squad is dealt with better. We are putting things in place to ensure for a person who is held for PD larceny that they will be dealt with as well. Okay?
Hmm.
But again, the legislation is very much clear. It not only is to deal with defending a person, but defending property as well. Okay?
Correct. Yeah, yeah.
So I hope I answered your question.
You did. And I think the law provides um that sort of comfort to a farmer now who may have not been able to access a firearm as a farmer, but as a homeowner, as a as someone who has possessions,
Mhm.
they could be protected in that regard now.
Right. Now, again, we must also understand this bill is about persons defending themselves.
Yeah.
All right. It's not about where if you see a man walking down the road, get a reason to hit a man. No,
Hmm.
no, don't do that. There are still laws in this country. We still have the summary offenses, we still have the indictable offenses. We still have all of those things. All right. But this is a defined piece of legislation to deal with a defined type of offense, which is
Yeah.
home
Hmm.
invasions. All right. So we must look at it at that level. I understand the plight of the farmer, but we have also taken note of the farmers' issues. As I said, this is consultations. So we will look at it. So points has been taken and we'll pass on. So the Attorney General will be able to look at it as well. Okay.
Great. Hmm.
All right, Brian, I just want to get into the questions. Now it's now 9:07, so we have some time left, and I'd really like us to address the questions. All right, question from Kavita. We are focused on adults. What about kids under 18 being attacked and their parents not at home? Will they be covered if they stand their ground?
Well, the legislation does talk about if children are affected. All right, it does talk about it under again, where under clause 6.3, it does talk about where a person carries a home invasion in the presence of a child.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
senior citizen, differently abled person, or otherwise vulnerable person. That person commits an offense and is liable on conviction on indictment to a fine of $750,000 and to imprisonment. So fine and imprisonment for 25 years. Okay? So I hope that answers the question.
Okay, Kavita, you could always let us know if you have additional questions or if you want to.
Actually, no, he dealt with the perpetrator. What about the children? Should, in case somebody under 18 they have a bat at home, they take the bat, they hit somebody, the person dies, or
Well,
something like that.
this
Would they
legislation,
be understanding
if you
ground for that?
use a bat, you use a kitchen, you use a kitchen stove pot. If you use anything that comes to your hand, because you're defending yourself, you're defending your home. So even if it's a
Children as well.
child, so even if it's a
Okay.
child
Okay.
defending a home. All right. Maybe if the child good at a bat, might play for West Indies cricket, and it might do better. I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, so moving on to next question. This is from Kazraj. Will the age limit to acquire a firearm be increased? Brian, are you in a position to comment on that?
Well, again, as we say, right, this legislation, I would not want to focus on the issues of the firearms, because this is not a gun bill. All right. So we're more focused on the issue of the home invasion. But however, I take note of your question. All right. As the Firearms Act deals with certain things with that. So I would tell Kasraj, I'll take note of his question. Okay. But again, we're looking at the issue of the home invasions. Okay. Because again, there is an age limit to apply for a firearm. Okay. There is an age limit. You have to be an adult. A child cannot get a gun. All right. But again, I will not go into that. I don't want to convolute the whole issue with the home invasion bill to that of the issues of firearms. Okay.
Okay, question from Richard. What if the perpetrator offender is a child who commits the offense under the age of 18?
Then if the child would still be committing an offense, there's something called there is the children's court to deal with that. It will be a child, the person will be deemed as a child offender. As a practicing attorney at law, I've had the pleasure when I was at the AG's office to ensure that there was in fact a children's court created. So children's court comes into play there. Okay.
All right, just going across to social media now to check the questions here. Right, I want to thank everybody on social media. I'm seeing we have people from Faizabad, we have people from Malabar. I know we have some foreigners with us as well. So thank you guys for coming on the program. I am seeing someone here raising a concern about what if the independent senators and the oppositions they do not give support to the bill. What's
I don't think we should, let's not think about it. I think honestly, if persons really and truly have a heart and a soul and hear the cries of victims, I think that they would definitely be in support of this legislation. I am bound by rules of the parliament. So I don't want to, I will not speak of persons who are in the house. All right. I'm not going to be like persons who are reckless. All right. I follow rules and I have a political leader and a prime minister to follow. And all I will tell persons, just as we got support to pass TTRA, just as we got support to pass the Children's Life Fund, have no fear, my friends. Kamala is here.
All right, and I'm just going to read some of the sentiments being expressed by some of our viewers. criminals have more rights than law-abiding citizens. I know that is something somebody spoke about on the program as well, but that
Oh,
is,
well,
yeah, go ahead, Brian.
listen, under the Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, we have enshrined rights. One such right is the right to property and right to life. All right? And this bill ensures the right to life and the right to property. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, well, it wasn't really a question. It was more or less a sentiment that was being expressed. Someone else has said, why isn't the PNM holding stand your ground consultations in their areas? I think that's a very good question. Why isn't the opposition holding stand your ground consultations on something that is so important? Because they have accused the government of trivializing the issue. They have said that the government it's not, the consultations are not national. So why is the opposition not holding their own consultations?
Because they know they can't. Because they cannot come and talk about fighting crime. They cannot talk about in any way about how to fight crime. Because they failed this nation. And that's why they were voted out, and they will never see the corridors of power and the ways of how this government has been performing. In just 100 days, this government has performed. In just 100 days, we have made promises so far come about. In just 100 days, we have been able to, I'll say it again, we got rid of the TTRA. We saved jobs. We have been able to ensure that children Life Fund was expanded so more persons can fall under this legislation. We was able to send WASA workers weren't sent home in just 100 days. We have been able to root out corruption in certain programs. And when it is dealt with properly and managed properly, people will be able to see more success. People will be able to work properly. There'll be no corruption. They won't have a man get a job to do, and you have a man coming out of nowhere and say, "Well, I go take the salary," while you doing all the dog work, or a person who don't even show up to work but getting thousands of dollars for a program where it's meant for unemployment relief. I leave that there.
But
Okay, Brian.
more so, what about a man who went on TV and say he worked in CPAP for 25 years?
I'm not gonna get into that.
Therein lies an issue, you know?
Yeah, I'm not gonna get into that. Let's not get into that.
I
But
agree. I agree.
these things are being taken, are being dealt with, and
Mhm.
I must commend the ministers who are dealing with it. They are doing an excellent job. So I'm not going to get into that.
Okay, guys, it's 9:15, so we are looking to wrap up. I know there are a couple other, I'm not seeing any more questions, but I'm seeing quite a bit of comments, right? So we are in the final few moments of the program. If anybody has anything really burning or important that they would like to raise, now is the time to do it, right? If not, Donnie, over to you.
Right. Well, I think we had a very impactful and a very powerful program. The comments coming from this, as you said, Senator, this was a public consultation. It started as a program and it went on to a consultation because I think some very good points and some very powerful points were able to come out from this. So, thank you to you, Senator, and thank you to all our listeners, the media, and everyone for tuning in as usual on a Tuesday evening.
Sure, no problem.
Senator,
Um, Go ahead.
no, I was gonna ask if you have any closing remarks first.
Well, I want to say thank you for having me. I know I'm not a stranger to your program, but thank you for having me. And I want to tell the people of Trinidad and Tobago, this is a legislation, this is a bill that was brought with the people in mind. This was a bill that was brought because persons were crying out for protection of their homes. And that is why this bill has been brought. The bill is currently through consultations. We have gotten some very nice suggestions. We've gotten some nice points. We've also
Mhm.
seen where they have gotten where the people of this country has said yes to this bill. And I thank those persons. While there are those who wants to use certain criticisms only because they can't think of nothing better but to criticize the bill, because they know for a fact that they failed, whereas we have triumphed. We have triumphed by bringing legislation to take care of our nation. And this, my friends, this is good law. This is good law. This is good law. So I thank you for having me.
Okay, well, I would like, on behalf of everyone who's here, to express my heartfelt gratitude to Senator the Honorable Brian Baig for joining us tonight, right? And I am sure that you will agree with me that Brian gave a very good overview of the bill, right? And that would, of course, be the Home Invasion, Self-Defense, and
Mhm.
Defense of Property Bill 2025, commonly known as the stand your ground legislation, right? And Brian broke it down in very, very simple terms for everyone to understand. And he answered our questions as well in very, very simple terms. I know a lot of people get tied up with the legal jargon, it tends to be a bit complicated. I
Well,
want to say,
Lisha, just one thing I
go ahead.
want to tell you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I had me like back in the days when I used to teach law. Because
That's why we brought you here, Brian. We've been getting requests to, do a program on the stand your ground legislation. So we brought an attorney on. So thank you for that.
no
Right.
problem.
I want to also thank everyone in the audience who came and they offered their comments, their questions, and so on. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for members of the media. Guys, what I want to end by saying is that I have been holding on, waiting to hear something of substance, something that is sensible from the opposition of Trinidad and Tobago. But you know what? I think I've been holding on in vain. Because up to now, we can't hear nothing of substance, right?
Why would you think you're hearing no substance from
No,
them?
man, but still, for democracy to work in the way it is supposed to work, right? There is supposed to be sensible debate. But the kind of nonsense these people are coming with, total and complete nonsense that, as I have said before, I mean, it simply, there's no basis in fact. And I'm still waiting, I'm still hoping for the sake of democracy, right? That's just what I want to end with. But thank you all, everyone, for joining us, those who are on the Zoom and social media.
Uh,
And please tune in again on.
Lisha, before you go, I'll say one thing. If you waiting for that, I'll tell you my grandmother used to say, cock will get teeth before that happen. And I have a farmer here with me.
No, but I'm saying I am holding on, waiting for the sake of democracy, for democracy to work the way it is supposed to work. I'm waiting, I'm hoping, but it's like in vain. In vain, we haven't heard anything intelligent from these people. Nothing. Nothing you could say that is based in fact.
Alicia, we haven't heard anything intelligent from them for 10 years.
Well, you have a point. You have a point. Yeah. No, but I will continue to hope. I will continue to hope. So, folks, thank you again for joining us. Please tune in next week, Tuesday at 8 p.m. for another episode of One on One. Stay safe, and we will see you all again next week.